Welcome, everyone. This is the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund Board meeting of Friday, November 14th, 2025. It's a few minutes, 4 minutes after 9 at this point. Um, please note that in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair will inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and please make their presence known. Okay, seeing none. I'll move to a roll call vote for the board. Laura Schufeld,
Present?
Mark Milne,
Present.
Andy Clyburn,
Here.
Mark Ells here. Not a vote. We just roll call. Public comment. Is there anybody from the public here that would like to make public comment?
There's no public comment at this time.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, we'll move right into the topics for discussion. First topic, initial review, a new development funding application from Seashore Homes, Inc., 83 Main Street, Hyannis, seeking 150,000 toward construction and site development cost for the deed restriction of two one-bedroom apartments to be affordable to 65% AMI within the remodel of an existing 4,200 gross square foot main building and construction to create 8 new one-bedroom, one-bath apartments and 2 new two-bedroom and 1.5 bath townhouses and 4 new two-bedroom, 1.5 bath duplex buildings. Total of 18 new units. Total square footage just a touch over 25,000 square feet. All right. Jillian, before we ask the applicant to speak, so we received an application. In your review, is the application complete?
Not fully complete. There's a pro forma that's missing. And I think that this application is a little bit unique because it's asking, or it's mentioned that they may be requesting also pre-development funds. So I wanted to make sure they had the opportunity to explain what they're asking for before I concluded that it was complete. So
Okay, so why don't we ask the Masons to go ahead and do that? Welcome.
Hello,
Good morning.
how are you?
Well, thanks.
Yeah, we've taken the building, which is known to the community there is Aiken and Aiken, the law firm, right there, the nice property there that's so well located. Of course, right there by the hospital. It's behind us there, and then we're right off the downtown area. So the location for folks is very good. We actually own the property at 63 Main Street on the corner of Parkway West and Main Street. We did that about 3 years ago, and that's been very successful for us. But it's a nice design. This building will be similar in design to what 63 Main is. It has a Connecticut gambrel look to it. We're going to maintain that to the front of the property, and that building will just reflect what the character of the community is, if you will. We've last 10 years, as you know, Mark, we've built several units in the community there, probably, I would say 80, 90 units. So we like to do a good job, whether we're working for other folks, for third parties, or whether we're working for ourselves. We intend to keep this one for ourselves. Like I said, it's only 2 doors down from the one that we already have it existing. So it's something that we feel like we can manage ourselves. Deb and I do all of our own management of the property, upkeep, etc. On the properties. We always maintain and keep our properties up to date. So we just thought this would be a good property in which we could do it. We've taken the main body of the house, And by the way, this was built back in 1935. It's well built, a nice property, and then we're converting the main building to the eight one-bedroom units. We're actually taking the size of the main building to give us the 8 units. And then is what the duplexes are. So those are two-bedroom, bath and a half townhouses. They have the nice units, have the half bath down. They all units, one bedroom, two-bedroom units, all have washer dryers in the units. We do have in the one-bedroom building in the back, we are going to put a disability unit in. The ramp and the unit itself will reflect disability access and inside the unit as well. So all appliances, all the things that are taken into consideration for that, for a disability person. So buildings, again, the character of the buildings, very much the same in the community, and it would look very much like 63 Main Street. So with regard to the pre-development request, we didn't understand totally what we could get. We're asking for some dollars and cents if they're there for us to acquire any monies that we can have to help offset our costs. We would appreciate. We are building these units. All the one bedrooms are affordable units, basically, even though because they'll all be $1,800 rents, and then the two-bedroom units will enter the market at 2,300. We're still below the marketplace in Hyannis for the most part in all new units, and we'd like to stay there. We like good tenants. We like to maintain our tenants, and we don't hold the rents too high so that they can't afford it. It's tough enough out there as it is, as we all know. So we're just trying to maintain the affordability, if you will.
We have very little, we have next to no turnover on our tenants. We've kept 63 Main. We've maintained the rent that we started with several years ago. And this year, we're going to just do a very small increase. So our goal is to be able to make things be affordable to people so that they can have a life of, as much dignity as they can by giving them washer dryer in the unit. They don't have to go to a laundromat. They don't have to spend their money on coin laundry or schlep to the basement of the building. And it's just things like that we think it makes people feel good when they come home at night, and gives them want them to be able to live their lives and buy their groceries, if you will.
And also in the kitchen, we put dishwashers in all these units too. So, and it's a full kitchen, all units, one bedrooms, two-bedroom unit, all of them have all of the appliances, the same as your kitchen would have at home. So
That's great. Well, we thank you for your efforts. Just to note, we've lost Laura Schufeld from the Zoom, so I'm not sure what's occurred, if it's technical or if something else occurred, but we do still have a quorum. So we will continue our discussion of your application. Now, Jillian, typically when a proponent comes to the board, we've tried to, I know you have tried to answer all the questions so that the actual application and the dollar amount is representative of the request at the time. So I understand they've done this particular request, but should they have started a little before this with a preceding request and then brought this in subsequent?
Well, typically a pre-development application would come before construction. These units are in construction, in fact, quite well along. The question, I think, and I'll put my Laura hat on. I think Laura would be asking probably if the project needed the funding, and I guess what I would say is that if we're seeking to deed restrict the units, then yes, indeed, they would need the funding to offset or to permanently deed restrict the rents on those units. As it is, I don't think the Masons have any difficulty in proceeding with this project at market rents. And I guess that's where this project, I think, is asking for supplemental funds simply to deed restrict the rents.
Welcome back, Laura. Thank you, Jillian. Well, Laura, real quick, is everything good technical?
No, I haven't had any audio, and very little video, so I went on my phone, but it's gonna be difficult.
Okay, well,
I missed that whole presentation, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Basically, they gave an overview. It replicated what was stated in the topic on our agenda, but then got broadened a little bit to say that, should they have come in to ask for some of the pre-development that they might be eligible for. And so then they concluded and and I had moved it over to Jillian to ask, should they be a step before where they are right now? Um, and then, Jillian, in her explanation, basically said that they've already begun this project,
Yeah.
and that do they actually? She actually asked the question, and we haven't gotten back to the Masons yet, but do you need this money at this point to do that up front, or are we just at this application request, is what I was understanding of the discussion. And then you came back on.
Okay, I think, my major question is, are the 2 units inclusionary units, or are there additional units that they're asking for funding for?
So you're saying, are they to satisfy the 10% inclusionary of the
Yes.
18?
That's what it
Or
looks
are
like.
or are there 2 inclusionary and then 2 more that this is asking the money for? Because that's the way this works
Yes,
with this with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund looking to provide a subsidy. It's for the additional
Yes.
units above the inclusionary.
yes.
So back to the Masons.
So I would ask the question, is the for the additional units, is there a mortgage? Is that a grant, or how is that handled with regard to the 2 additional units aside from, what's by code, if you will? Is there a
Attorney,
security agreement, or is it like a mortgage? What is the scenario for that?
I'll ask Attorney Galvin or to answer the question, though I think it could be more broadly answered. But Attorney Galvin.
Thank you. Good morning. So we actually will have you sign a grant agreement. It is considered a grant, doesn't have to be repaid. In order to secure the performance, we ask you to sign a note, which doesn't have any payments due. And as long as you've maintained it as an affordable apartment, that note is forgiven at the end of 30 years. We also secure the performance by recording a mortgage that can be subordinate to all of your construction and permanent financing. And there'll be a restriction recorded, permanently making these units affordable, low or moderate income units.
That's what we did at Ridgewood.
Okay. Yeah, that helps explain what the scenario is. Yeah, we were concerned with regard to having like another mortgage, and as you just stated, that it would be subordinate to. We are always concerned with regard to the first position for the lien holder, and then how that's handled, especially, if down the road we need to divest ourselves of the property, which we're not intending to, but nonetheless, we always have to, you go into the marriage, you look to how to get a divorce too. So, we look long term as well as short term. So thank you. I appreciate that.
We do have one additional requirement, and there's a period of time where we ask you not to divest yourself of the property. But we've discussed that as a board in the past, but there is a period of time, and that's laid out in our grant agreement.
And what period of time is that then?
We usually ask for 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
And so if by chance, I mean, in other words,
We have,
all
by
I'm
the way,
saying,
we have consented to transfers in a short period of time, and as long as the affordable things are required, and we're convinced this wasn't like an effort to, well, look at the good faith is apparent here. So we don't want people, buying this, flipping it to somebody else, and making profits that weren't expected, things like that. That's why we have these types of restrictions.
sure, sure. No, and rightly so. We're trying to conform to everything, and if it makes sense for us to do what we want to do it. And if it doesn't, why then we won't do it. That's all. Um, okay, very good. No, I appreciate the information.
So I still have, if I might, I still have a basic question, really circling back to what Laura Schufelt had asked, which is, so you've got your two inclusionary, and now these are two additional at 65% AMI, um, for for which you are asking 150,000. Is that an accurate statement?
It would be 150 per unit.
So
Yeah, it
you're
would.
saying 4 units, he's saying.
I know, I know he's saying.
Okay.
I know he's saying. Yes.
Okay.
So it would be 150 per unit. Yeah. If we're do two, why? Yes.
Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, the application says 150, so it should be Laura, Jillian, and it could just be my reading, but it says 150, so it's 150 per unit that they're asking for.
That's how I now understand that. So that would be a total of
That's
300,000.
correct.
And so that would be two. So you'd have your two inclusionary at 65% AMI. And in the application, it appears as though you're requesting two additional units to be deed restricted at 65% AMI, and in return for 300,000. So there'd be 150,000 per unit. And is that correct? I'm asking.
That is
Yes.
correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think that has to be clarified, certainly in the
Yeah.
application.
Can you hear it? Can you hear us all right?
Yes.
Now we can. Yeah, you're a little bit broken up at times, but yeah.
Okay. Yes, but that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having, Comcast is working in our neighborhood this morning. Sorry. Can you hear us
Okay.
now?
We can.
Yeah.
We can.
As we mentioned to Jillian earlier,
Okay. Sorry.
Comcast noticed us this morning when we had no service that they would be working in an upgrade in the Yarmouth Port area all day today. So that's the reason why you may get piece and parts of it. So
Yep. All right. So Jillian, procedurally from the application standpoint, it sounds like this needs to be tightened up a bit to me. It
If I
also sounds like they are really beyond the pre-application funds, well, pre-development funds because they're into construction already, correct?
that would be my understanding, but I did want to have the full board review that and understand what was being requested.
Okay, I'm
And
just trying to be clear on the
yes,
ask. Yeah. Okay.
and through you, Chairman Els, I would also suggest that would require some sort of documentation of an amendment to that application if that were proceeding.
Okay. Well, wait a minute, back up. If what we're proceeding?
If simply because I misstated this on the agenda, I was under the impression that it was 150,000 that they were seeking. The full request appears to be 300,000 for the two additional on top of the inclusionary. And I just want to also be clear that of that AMI, the affordability level that they're seeking, because 65%, as we know, is the inclusionary. And I just want to be sure that they understand that they could potentially ask at 80% AMI if that was there and still be eligible.
Okay. Laura, do you have
clarification.
a question?
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there's still the question of completeness of the application. There's no pro forma, there's, some other information that's missing. So, I think that Jillian, you need to, connect with them on those items.
Very good.
Okay, so for the sake of the Masons, procedurally, they're going to sit back down with Jillian. They're going to modify their application to be reflective of the accurate language for their request, and then they'll bring it back before the board for our consideration. And so when you come in next time, that checklist of items that needs to be submitted will have been submitted so that we can review it, see it, and make a decision for them. Is that a reasonable statement
Okay.
for everyone? Attorney Galvin, did I miss anything, sir? No. Okay, good. All right, Masons, is that okay? Oh, Mark Milne, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. If we're going through that process to refine the application, if there could be any consideration to applying the affordability to perhaps a two-bedroom unit, because the need for more affordable two-bedroom units in the community is prevalent. So just for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we'll ask them to meet with you, Jillian, and and hopefully usually we meet once a month. So next month, this will be I'm assuming 12th of December, will be brought back to us for consideration in a complete form.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you both.
Okay.
We appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here with us.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Have a
nice
good weekend.
Yeah, have a nice Thanksgiving.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on to topic number 2. Let's see here. Okay. This is continued. Zoning Board of Appeals Special Permit 2025-013, condition number 11, affordable residences, 10 additional affordable deed restricted apartments at 35 Wilkins Lane, Hyannis, ZBA / Development of Regional Impact Review with Wilkins Lane Properties LLC. Who is continuing that discussion?
Well, I can simply report that we have our first in-person meeting with the proponent. That's going to be Laura has, as you remember from your last meeting, volunteered to be your liaison for that, and we have 11:30 on Friday, the 17th. I'm sorry, on Monday, the 17th.
Okay, so this is just an update then. It'll be continued to future meeting.
And also an opportunity if you had any questions or statements or concerns that we wanted to discuss.
I mean, fellow board members, I mean, I think I felt as though I kind of framed what I saw occurring with this condition and then what they brought in. I thought I framed that last meeting, but certainly if we need to have any discussion to help Laura as she moves into this, we can do it. Andy, you had your hand up.
Yes, sir. I think that you framed it very well last meeting. I was surprised at last meeting the significant delta that they were saying, the amount that they were asking per unit. And I thought based on that maybe that is the current state of affairs. But then I have to admit what we heard this morning on the smaller project, they're talking about maintaining, adding a couple affordable units within the parameters, within the 150,000 per unit. So I would just encourage taking a hard look, Laura, at those numbers and trying to figure out. I'm having a hard time making heads or tails of where reality is with regard to that.
Laura, please.
So just a simple response, Andy. They were looking at net present value of how much money they would lose over the course of 30 years. And obviously, that's not going to fit in our, we're not granting net present value. And so that's that's a starting point. It may be the ending point, but, we won't know till we talk to them, deeper. But you know, given the amount of units and the, high price of their units, there may be room. So
I
I'm
had,
optimistic that we can come up with something,
great. I
maybe
had
not 10
asked,
units.
I had asked a question of Attorney Galvin that was kind of a more comprehensive question relevant to the the interaction with ZBA, which led to that condition, and beyond the condition, which I think I described as I felt like it was almost like a throwaway condition. Was there a greater understanding or obligation by the proponent by getting to condition 11? Meaning, is there an expectation they're going to come up with something here relevant to affordable units?
I, it's my opinion that you have to come up with something. I think this was just an effort to get us to contribute to that, and I just don't think it's consistent with how we do it.
Meaning the subs, okay,
The way I read the condition was they had to ask us, uh, uh, and it just doesn't meet any of our parameters. Being blunt about it.
yeah, okay. So it really doesn't have any teeth as far as gaining affordable units above the inclusionary. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I didn't watch the hearing, so I couldn't develop my own opinion, not having done that. Laura?
Um, in the, um, in the hearings, there was a big public push for additional affordable units. And I think ZBA was trying to respond to that, but ended up negotiating a condition with no teeth. And, they had to ask us, they actually didn't really have to, because after 6 months, it just goes away. So, um, it was an attempt to placate the public, I thought, without having any teeth.
Yeah,
So
I guess my concern was, did the public walk away from it thinking it had teeth because of the type of discussion that was being had?
I think so.
They did. Okay. Well, I guess doesn't sound actionable based on what Attorney Galvin said. No. Okay,
No,
sir. Thank you.
it's not.
All right, Laura, good luck. If we can be helpful, let us know, please.
Thanks. Thanks. And
Yeah.
Jillian, I have it as the 21st. So if it's Monday, um, that's a problem for me.
I was looking back and I'm, Laura, you are absolutely correct. It is
Okay,
Friday, the 21st at 11:30, and I apologize. I
Well,
got my,
thank you.
now, one last thing, staying at kind of a comprehensive level. Another part of the discussion, if I remember it correctly, maybe this should go to Corey, um, was that we want to inform ZBA what our criteria are for eligibility so that in the future, if they're going to put a condition to a project such as what occurred here, that it is accurate and it does have teeth. So Corey, make sure that if we need to do a training with ZBA or beyond, or even advise, that is happening appropriately. Okay, fellow board members, did you remember us saying that as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I don't know if as an independent board, it may be appropriate for members of the board to meet with the ZBA to do that.
Whatever would be the most effective mechanism, we could certainly. Laura, would you be available to support that effort?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So Corey, we're jumping from trust to town here a little bit, but you've got that information in hand, okay, sir?
Sure. I will definitely let Jim know about that. Jim definitely consults with ZBA and
Right.
Anna, so.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think at this point we move on to number 3 and planning and reporting update. And we've got first item is amendments to the 2020 Declaration of Trust. Jillian?
Well, just I did want to report that it's finalized. I know Bob has spoken with the town legal department, and I was hoping that we might be able to move to where we're ready to sign that. It was included in your packet. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. The only amendment was the amendment related to the Commonwealth Builders project and projects as being acceptable.
Okay.
And I didn't know if Bob wanted to say anything else about that. But
I'd probably just add, I just think it's ready for signature now, and it internally, Jillian, I think I don't know how to manage getting everybody's signatures, but I made a suggestion, I think, for Andy where he's away, that maybe we get it to him and add a notary box for a main notary or whatever we need to do. But I
I'll be
also
in the
indicate,
office on Monday, Bob. I'm not.
oh, that'd be terrific. Julian, if you could connect with Andy then on Monday, that would take his signature, and then
Yeah.
it's just running around getting the other ones, and then we'll record it promptly.
and if I could, that was also the comment being that a quorum of the board is sufficient.
Yeah.
So I know Mark Milne, you may have an issue with being able to get us back a notarized signature, but I think 3 signatures, if yeah, I should be able to get that fairly quickly.
Yeah, it only takes a majority of the board to sign. So if we're missing one, we're still okay.
Andy, can you chair the meeting for a moment? I'll be right back. I apologize.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, just to follow up on that, if signatures for Mr. Ells, myself, and Laura are all we need, we should be able to get those next week. Laura, are you available at some point next
I'll be
week?
in the office Friday for that negotiations. So
Perfect. Okay. All right. Do you want to continue with item number 3 then, Jillian?
I'm sure that's 3B is the end of fiscal year report that was so that's the original draft that I had done for this is to present to the Community Preservation Committee. It has had quite a few amendments, and I think far better than what I had originally presented to you, and that has both Attorney Galvin's input and town legal department as well.
Okay, Laura?
I just didn't know if we had to vote on the amendment to the previous item. Because I don't
Attorney
think we,
Galvin, is that something that requires a vote, or are we just ready for signature?
Ready for signature.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Laura. All right, so have we all had the opportunity to review the end of year report to CPC? I feel like we've done this a few times now. If everyone's satisfied, I don't know that we need a vote. Do we need a vote, Attorney Galvin, or is just something? It seems like this administrative in nature. If everyone agrees, then we'll just take it to Mr. Ells for signature.
Agreed.
All right. Jillian, can you make that happen?
Yeah, and can I just add, I think so the just for your own information, the end of year, that would be June 30th is the balance sheet that will convey with that. So
Understood.
yes, I'll get that signed as well.
Okay, fantastic. On to project updates.
I'm gonna probably lean on Bob for these because the first one under 3C is 268 Stevens. That's the Hack Commonwealth Builder project, and I know he's worked very intensely with them on this.
I'm going to be the first one that's delighted when this is done because I have
You
been
might be in
getting
line behind me, sir.
I have been getting 3 to 5 emails every day, invited to a hours-long weekly meeting to this closing, and we've worked through everything. The documents are now final. I've sent them to Karen Nober and Tom LaRosa, and they're getting the documents if they haven't already got them signed. They presented me last Friday with a few other new mass housing agreements that were ordinary. There were subordination agreements and estoppels, things that we would agree to anyway. So, but they were mass housing forms, so there wasn't a lot of negotiation there. But all the documents are finalized. My expectation is they're closing on Tuesday, so our mortgage will go on. The only thing I think is important for you all to know is that I always wanted the disbursements to be made in accordance with the Eastern Bank schedule, but the way they're constructing this project, they're not following the traditional process. The first uh, percentage of this project is entirely funded by mass housing. So, and then they're going to hold back 10% of the mass housing funds, and then Eastern Bank is going to come in and fund the rest of the project. So I negotiated and agreed with them that we would follow the mass housing disbursement process, and 10% of our funds would be held back into completion, and everybody was satisfied with that. So that was the only thing of significance, but we're all set.
Great. Thanks for all your work on that. I know it was quite the
It was a
endeavor.
bear.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as we're kind of on that topic and it landing in our legal department, we have the newest member of our legal department with us now as well, Jan Kendrick. Jan, by way of introduction, I just wanted to recognize you. We're thrilled to have Jan on board.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
All right. So I think we're all set on that. I'm knocking on wood. I know I was also getting engaged by Hack early in the week. So thank everyone for that, their efforts. The next one is Hokum Road Rock and Dennis, the forward two.
Again, this is finalizing documents. This is the phase 2 of the forward project in Dennis. That's the regional project. And again, because there are so many towns involved, it's pretty standardized formats, but I'll also defer to Bob if he wanted to add anything to that.
No, I've reviewed the forms that they sent over to date, and I'm perfectly fine with everything they've sent over to me.
Excellent. Do
And
we have
so
any other discussion on that, Jillian?
well, just to add that also will require a signature by the chair, and I'll be getting that with there'll be a large packet for Mark.
Okay. All right, those are all of the planning updates and potential actions. Mark or Laura, did you have any questions or other comments on that, or should we move along?
I'm fine. I reviewed them with Attorney Galvin and Jillian last week, so I'm fine.
Excellent. Okay, moving along then, we'll go to item number 4. Update on regulations related to seasonal communities designation tools under Massachusetts Affordable Homes Act. Board member and MHP Senior Advisor and Real Estate Development Officer, Laura Schufelt. Do you have an update for us? Oh, you muted.
Yeah, I got it. So there was in your packet a letter that the planning department sent in response to the regulations. I actually just reviewed that this morning, so I won't go into that, but you have it to see what the town's questions were. I wanted to bring up Senator Sear has submitted a bill that would amend the statute and also other statutes. I'm going to try and hit the highlights. I would hope that the town would also respond to the amendments. It was the text of the amendment was in your packet. It's I'll go over the highlights that I see or lowlights from it. It does require 2 other requirements if you sign on, if you get approval to designate as a seasonal community, besides small lots being undersized lots being available for development and allowing tiny homes. And there's also, they added that every seasonal community would adopt bylaws or zoning ordinances that provide for no less than one district of reasonable size in which small year-round housing is permitted as of right. So for Barnstable, that means they don't really define small-scale year-round housing. Obviously, we know what year-round housing is, but it's a little vague and undefined, but that's a requirement. And then there's another that would adopt zoning ordinances that permit any property that meets the minimum square footage for habitability to be used as year-round housing. And that's not limited to hotels, motels, or motor inns, regardless of any municipal bylaw or ordinance. So, and that it would, if any local requirement, usually that's a health code, requires a minimum square footage that's higher than the state minimum, this would override that. Those are two must-haves. So we may, want to look into that a little bit more. There was a couple of things that I asked for Mark Milne's input on around the minimum threshold for circuit breaker tax credits. And then there was one other one. I forget what it was.
It was the bifurcated progressive property tax on residential property.
That's right. So those two things are in there. They seem to be requirements as well. This one is the next one is a little interesting, and Mark, I should have sent this one to you as well. It's section 6I. The executive office or any division therein may enter into long-term financing agreements with school districts, municipalities, and what they call qualified developers for the creation of affordable rental housing for municipal employees. And payment shall be deferred until the affordable housing that is financed is put into service. And they begin collecting rents. It has a lot of conflicting regulations that it would have to overcome. It doesn't waive fair housing, which is a concern for housing specifically for municipal employees. It's okay to have a preference, but you can't have a restriction. And that's followed through with the seasonal communities. It's been an issue for some communities. Procurement laws, public construction laws, all those things, it seems to try and override without mentioning them. It also has seasonal communities shall for properties that contain less than 3 units, have a right of first refusal on any tax title foreclosure. Again, I don't know how that coordinates with foreclosure laws. It allows bylaws or ordinances that contribute to the creation of attainable housing. Attainable housing is defined as up to 250% of AMI, which is about $300,000 for a family of 4 income. Communities can lower that, they can put in their own ceiling on attainable housing, but the limit in the statute is 250%. And they want to change in the small lot development, the statute says that they have to have no less than 3 bedrooms in any development on small lots, and they want to change that to no more than 3 bedrooms. And I think probably things that are concerning, they would like to change for seasonal communities, they would like to change CPA, AMI limits up to the attainable limit. And so you could use CPA to fund housing up to whatever the town wants, but right now in the statute, 250% AMI, which is getting a lot of pushback all across the state. And also that those units would then be able to be counted on the SHI. Yeah. Wow. Wow. And any attainable units they want counted on the SHI, which would mean the end of 40B in our communities and the end of any incentive to create affordable housing. Sorry, I'm trying not to be, not to put my 2 cents worth in. I'm just trying to, just the facts, ma'am. One that again is getting a lot of pushback is changing 40Y, which is a ordinance that, or a statute that allows for small, mostly single family homes to be built in like a 40R in a zoning district. It's a permitting statute. Just like 40R, if you know what that is, there are incentives, financial incentives for towns to do it. And there's an initial payment for every, so it makes, let me back up it has to be denser than the underlying zoning. So it's an overlay district that increases density. And for every unit that it increases from what you could do under underlying zoning, you get a payment. 40R says it's $3,000 per unit. 40Y says it's the same thing. This would change 40Y to be $10,000 per unit. And then whenever you get a building permit for one of those units, they have a sliding scale that's also about the same 30%. I mean, 3 times higher than what 40R is. So I think that the CPA is a real concern across the state. There's other provisions. If you don't spend your historic or open space money in 3 years, then you have to transfer it to housing. It's another one that's not going to fly, I don't think. And then I think lastly, there's changes to what can count on the SHI besides attainable housing, including right now there's a 10% have to be 3 bedroom in any project, unless it's age restricted. And this would say that any fully 1 bedroom unit projects would count, and allowing the covenant housing in town and Nantucket to count, and any that you've put CPA funds in would count. So Senator Sears' amendment or bill to amend the statute has quite a few things that, I think the town should look at, and happy to take any questions, or I know I went through that quickly.
No, thank you for that, Laura. That was a lot to unpack. A lot to unpack. And I think I'll turn it back over to the chair, but I feel like we always play these dual roles, right? We have the trust and then our job as chair. And clearly, Jim Cupfer and his staff are going to need to take a hard look and comment. It seems to me there's a whole lot of strategy and not a whole lot of actual thought towards tactical implementation. There's a whole lot of problems. But with that, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Yeah, has Jim shared his comments that he put together on behalf of the town, Laura, with you?
I got them in this packet,
Okay, great. Yeah, okay.
so there was some,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I didn't agree with all of them. I'll
Yeah.
just say that.
That's okay.
But
Um,
uh, there was one other thing I was going to say about this, and I can't remember what it was now. Oh, I guess I will say this is, there's one thing that's missing out of this that I think I would point out, that for all the gifts they've given to the vineyard in Nantucket, because these are the things that they're really pushing, and Chatham. Um, the one thing that isn't here is um, allowing the year-round housing restriction to be in perpetuity. And that was a flaw in the original drafting of the statute. And I was pretty sure that was going to be fixed. And that would be the one thing that I would say right now, if you're allowed to do a year-round housing restriction, but it only lasts 30 years. So you're creating a submarket that then turns around to market in 30 years. And you lose, just like affordable housing that's only 30 years. You use that benefit, you lose that benefit after 30 years, and whoever owns the property at that time realizes a huge boost in their equity.
okay. Well, actually, thank you, Laura. I don't know that any part of seasonal communities is actionable by the trust, but it's certainly, am I incorrect in that, Laura?
Well, right now, that's correct. This amendment that Senator Sierra has filed would make it allowable for us or a year-round housing trust to use CPA money to fund housing up to 250% of AMI.
Okay,
So that affects us, if it affects our ability to get the affordable house to if we were to do a year-round housing trust that would fund attainable housing, we'd be in competition with them for CPA funds.
okay. All right. Well, the council and the council hasn't had a workshop on this yet. So we'll certainly let you know, Laura, seeing that me, Andy, and Mark are town staff and would obviously know when that would occur, but we'll let you know when that occurs, okay? Great, thanks, Laura. Thank you for that overview. All right, I get back to me as chair. Thank you, Andy. Apologize for my absence. And any correspondence? Topic 5. Yes, Jillian. You're muted.
There. I just wanted to note that 850 Falmouth Road does anticipate coming to us with rent increase request. I, of course, will relay that as soon as I have it.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Laura.
I just threw you to Jillian. Have we got a formal withdrawal from Copacabana?
I have nothing in writing. However, that was done in the meeting. So they had withdrawn in the meeting. I will ask for something in writing for that.
Thank you.
Should Attorney Galvin take a quick look at that to make sure that it is an appropriate formal withdrawal?
I believe that it is an appropriate formal withdrawal.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Um, okay, moving on to topic 6. That is not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Do we have anything? No? Okay, seeing none. Approval of the minutes from October 21st, 2025. Have you had time to review? Do you have any comments?
I
Do I
would
have
move,
What's that? Go ahead, Laura.
I would move approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, thank you. Roll call. Laura Schufelt,
Yes.
Mark Milne,
yes.
Andy Clyburn,
Yes.
Mark Ells, yes. Thank you. Topics for future meeting agendas. All right, yes, Laura.
We have about $100,000 in the Economic Development Fund. And I was wondering, right now, there isn't a formal process for accessing that. I'm wondering if we want to draft some kind of a NOFA, or at least have a discussion as to what our criteria would be for spending that money. And whether it's through, through other departments in the town, or through outside um, uh, participants. But it's been sitting there for a while and we haven't really done anything with it. And I wondered if that might be appropriate.
Okay, Jillian, is that something that you can take a look at and draft up something for our consideration?
I will consult with Jim Cupfer as well, because I think they may have some other thoughts about what could be used for productively. So I'll certainly, yes, I'll draft you something for the next meeting.
Laura, more broadly, are you aware of any sort of criteria like that that exists? No.
We had criteria at the beginning when when we first established the fund. Um, and so, I probably have that criteria, so
Okay.
I can take a look at it. Um, you know, Also, I think, we might want to think about whether, um, it's not we haven't got any money for a while, and I don't anticipate we're going to, because originally it was coming from the Cape Cod Commission's, I'm going to call them impact fees. That's not what they call them, but their fees, so that we had a conduit to spend those. But I believe that's changed. And so, are we going to ever see any more money? I don't know.
You don't know. We can be designated at times. I mean, certainly when they did the redevelopment of the commercial space over by the airport, there was an
Yeah.
opportunity for what prior to that was an unanticipated revenue that got designated to us. So, to the trust rather. So, we should have that criteria. Laura, that would be great if you could revisit it, and see if you
Yeah.
can find what. I've been on this for a long time, and since 2012, and I don't
Yeah.
remember ever seeing a formal criteria. So,
Yeah, we had it because when we got what's now Harbor Freight, I think that was the last money that we got, and it was
okay.
going to be the electronics store.
Yes,
Um,
I
we
remember.
had criteria, and we did Wendy's or the
Yeah.
front lot
Okay.
of
Yeah, I was
mine.
around for that. I don't remember the criteria though of how to use it, but great. Thank you. If you could
Okay,
bring that forward.
I'll find it. I'll try and find it.
Okay, that'd be great. And okay, anything else at this time? I guess I would ask if you indulge me to jump back to matters not reasonably anticipated. Um, we still have a vacant seat on the board. I do intend to conduct interviews shortly for all applicants. Um, and I am going to ask Laura and Jillian to participate unless my fellow board members are concerned, Laura will do it via Zoom. Just so you know, Jillian, I'll have Tracy set it up. I anticipate, and it'll accommodate your schedules. That's honestly. So that it fits. And I think we have 4 applicants, maybe. Laura, I'm not sure. Somebody had been interested that you were aware of. I want to make sure we've got, I may even note that, final call for applicants to the trust one more time. But I'd like to get through that next month and then bring something to council in January.
Okay.
Okay? Is Jillian, are you willing to assist me in this?
Absolutely, sir.
All right, Laura,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. I appreciate that.
And there may be one more applicant coming in.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you for allowing me to go back. All right, our next meeting is Friday, December 12th at 9 a.m. Anybody have a conflict with that they're aware of? Seeing none. And thank you, Andy, for introducing Jan. I heard you do that. Appreciate it. Nice to see a new face. So now we'll all be familiar, Jan. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Oh, all right. So I've got a motion and I assume,
Second.
thank you, sir. All right. Laura Schufeld,
Yes,
Mark Milne,
Yes.
Andy Clyburn,
Yes.
Mark Ells. Yes. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
thank
Have a
you.
great weekend.
Aye.